taking it all. Diving deep into topics, we'll rise or we'll fall. Every episode's a journey, a ride through the maze. Join us on this path, let's ignite the blaze. So grab your headphones tight, let's go for a ride. With every spin and twist, we'll cut and run and hide. The Prime Directive, where the laughter's alive. Society's reflections, let's help each other thrive. Politics and culture, oh what a blend. Join on the journey, let's set the trend.
It was something interesting I came across that Barbara Kellerman said back when she published her Bad Leadership book. So this was years and years and years ago, but she thought it was interesting because it said that America had been spared a despotic leader. And
boy, that statement hasn't held up.
I know. So well, I don't know. I mean, it. I mean, because she was saying a truly despotic leader, and that when she put out her Bad Leadership text, which explores, bad leadership from incompetent to truly
so
evil.
She has like different levels.
Yeah, she has a continuum.
So do you remember what are the different continuums? What does Barbara Kellerman have as far as where does she start?
Just incompetent, like incompetent and rigid.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so incompetent is like that just lowest level. God. And I put it up because I'm like, there's 7, and I'm going, if Eric asks me, I'm gonna have to make sure.
I know. Well, you're the expert.
Like, well, there's 7, but the evil being this end of the continuum, and you're just incompetent leaders that are just ineffective. So ineffective.
But isn't that kind of a form of evil when you're ineffective? People die, right?
Well,
I mean,
depending. It depends.
The air traffic controllers that didn't, plane with the helicopter that just happened.
Yeah.
People died because we didn't see the planes and the copter at the same time, and they needed to be warned and
from a geopolitical perspective, I don't know if you've noticed what is currently happening in Serbia. There's a huge, there are huge demonstrations by effectively the younger generation, and these are usually students, due to the incompetence of the government and due to the fact that it actually caused a number of deaths.
Sure.
And the younger generation basically is saying enough. This is ridiculous. We are no longer interested in subsidizing both callousness, incompetence, corruption, and stupidity.
Yes.
And it's not so much stupidity as it is the self-serving, narcissistic traits that come forward, because it's, I just want to get enough so that I can just step away, and it's all about me.
Yeah.
About me.
There is very little service of others or consideration.
Yes,
in my opinion, I'm going to say this. I think the people who should do really well in politics would be teachers who are in the trenches, people who understand service, individuals. Heck, in the military, people who serve others. Would actually make really good politicians.
Yeah,
yep.
It's
but there's a whole system set up against that, right? I mean, you always hear the old cliches, those who can do and those who can't teach, right? You hear these empty cliche slogans that people get drilled into their heads.
Yeah,
because
to undermine.
Well, of course.
But there's like a quote I heard somewhere in answer to that those who can do were taught by a teacher. Those who can do because of a teacher.
Because of a teacher.
Like
and those who can't need a teacher.
Yeah.
Yep. Precisely.
They need somebody to connect with and help them through, instead of being so cynical. So that was the first one, right?
Yeah,
it was Barbara Kellerman's. It's incompetence and rigidity.
Which is unwillingness to adapt. So like, this is the way we've always done it, in the box thinking, refusing to change when change is needed or assessed. And so that brittleness is going to cause an organization immense problems, especially after you've assessed something like a 360-degree assessment or an appreciative inquiry, and the leader just is like, well, I reject those results of that because I know everyone loves me. And that kind of rigidity can be, incredibly on the scale of ineffectiveness to purely unethical.
Sure.
Because there's that scale of ineffective to unethical, and then there's the 7 types of a leader, a bad leader. But intemperate, I just love, because it's like the leader that's out of control,
like a hothead.
Yeah,
you
well,
got your
that
hothead.
or spending, won't be reined in, won't be told they're wrong.
Who does that sound
I know
these days?
Honestly, I
don't know about
Whose
these
name
days. I would say
rhymes
General
with
Curtis LeMay in World War II.
There's
Musk?
so many. But there's a student that did yours truly, Trump years ago. This was and actually hit on every one of this.
Right? It's like all 7.
All 7.
Wrapped up in like an orange
All 7.
shit sandwich.
They used as an example. And I was like, I want to say, that there's a critique I can offer, but I cannot.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to say,
Now,
well
does Kellerman,
done. Well done.
Yeah, right. Does Kellerman, does she ever stop at 7? Because it seems like maybe there's more, right?
Of course.
I just
well,
wonder
this is just her. I mean, she has callous, which is uncaring and unkind, not attending to followers' needs. And
we're kind of going through
insular
that right now.
Insular is the leader that is like the in-groups and the out-group. You would have those that are your favorites, and the out-groups are ignored, and so, or just closes themselves off, closed door policy, real inaccessible. So that's a kind of ineffective leader. I mean, that may be. And then, your evil is all the way to the worst bad leader. Obviously.
What is how did she describe it? What was her worst?
Willing to commit atrocities, genocidal.
The atrocity.
I mean, just as bad as you can get.
The atrocity
evil
leader.
is the worst.
So
again, that she said America's yet to have a truly despotic evil leader. In her
opinion, yeah.
Which I was like, thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, when you compare to some other countries, we haven't had an Idi Amin, we haven't had a Pol Pot, we have not had a Rwanda,
Milosevic, a Stalin or Hitler,
Serbia.
Well,
I mean, we have not had that. Thank God, but we haven't had a Holocaust. We haven't had this, but we certainly, everyone could say that they're toying with, fascism, and they're, people are displaying the same behaviors, and to kid ourselves that evil cannot be thoughtless and ordinary and commonplace is irresponsible, and just like you both were saying, it just takes a small group, somebody willing to stand up, and several people willing to stand up and have a voice and
give voice. Yeah. That's what we want to hear from people out there too. I'm just kind of curious, if you're in the comments section and you're willing to send your name and stuff out there on the interwebs, tell us your worst experience at work, or what your worst experience with evil maybe is, from the hilarious to the tragic. I'm just kind of curious. I'm wondering if it runs the same kind of gamut as our experience, from getting beaten up physically, which sucks, but you can kind of dust those off. You kind of heal up the scars and you just move on. The other ones hurt. The other ones stay with you a lifetime.
Actually, there was only one thing that I would like to just mention. I think that, and I think more recently, there, for example, our neighbors to the north, Canada, is grappling with their mistreatment of the native populations and what the displacement had done. So while in our history, we may not have had a World War II, systematic extermination of an entire group of people, we certainly can look at the mistreatment of the native populations in this country.
Yeah, no,
and that actually on this continent, and you can even look at the Southern American continent, and the mistreatment of the native populations by the invading forces from Portugal, from Spain, and what has happened in the countless millions of individuals that were.
And this to me harkens back to an earlier discussion that we had about just something in our natures, because going back to the anthropology stuff, there seems to be a lot of evidence that human beings have been exterminating each other for hundreds of thousands of years. That there's evidence that, you know, people getting shot in the back with arrows and then had their faces caved in with clubs and stuff, and entire groups of like Denovian species and things that are just,
the Denovians, which
just exterminated.
They're not even. There was a recent really discovery of the Denovians as a subspecies.
Sure.
Effectively.
And that it seems there's some evidence to indicate that it wasn't just like, oh, they got wiped out because of like a volcano or something, or climate, which is probably a huge contributing factor, but that human Homo sapien seems to be the when Homo sapiens is introduced into the geographic location of these species, other peoples, other Gigantopithecus and Australopithecus, and suddenly when we get into these areas, all these other species start dying off. They start, short-faced bear disappears, saber-toothed tiger disappears. So I don't know. There's Neanderthal's gone.
Absolutely, which goes back to one of the first episodes that we did, talking about the difference between the chimpanzees and the bonobos.
Yeah. So that's right. And for the bonobos, their survival strategy is altruism.
The treatment of indigenous peoples, it's so interesting you brought that up, because when we went to Australia this past summer, and they are so good at giving tribute to their indigenous population in all of their like public spaces, their parks, their museum, like botanic gardens, like thanking their indigenous people for the care of the land. And
they seem to have made a turn as a culture,
and we just haven't done that.
Haven't gotten
well,
there.
maybe we're starting to. I know at the DIA at the Denver airport, there's a display and recognition, and I know like at our university, there's a lot of really intentional recognition.
We're at an inflection point. Can you feel it? Can you see it?
Well, I thought
our society
we're
is
that
at
way,
one of these
but now
inflection
we're
points
taking
where
you take steps forward and then you take like 10 steps back.
Yeah,
And
2 steps
we're
forward, 2 steps back, and we're
in the backlash phase now.
Yeah.
So I feel that more because especially at a university where we're hearing about like federal grants that are freezing for any research being done around DEI.
And this is
stuff.
research that is going to help the aged, right? It's
some
helping...
of them, but I mean, it's yet to be seen. Honestly, we're in a like nobody knows phase. But just the whole like hearing about one's allowed to use pronouns, in Washington. Just hearing about backlash starting and has been starting. Okay, so we're going back. All right.
And societies,
it's the nature of progress, I guess.
I guess, I think there has been some evidence over time too that sometimes societies do regress.
It's the wave. That's why they call it waves. They go like this and then they recede.
Crest down.
And
again.
then you have to start all over.
Yeah.
That's as the visual that I think is meaningful.
Yeah. And in the anthropology world, I think it's called the rubber band effect. I forget the exact name of it. It's where populations expand because there's a huge growth of progressive technology and everything, and then they regress back down. It's Bandic.
How dare we try for so much too fast?
Right, I know.
Just freak people out. We freak them out.
Yeah,
I mean, think about it. Here we are in a society, right? And at the same time, we have the James Webb Telescope out in space, between here and the moon, right? In that quadrant they've got it in of space out there, making discoveries that are like absolutely blowing apart our concepts of reality. There's some evidence that there's 11 candidates right now for Dyson spheres, which are these megastructures that
it's remarkable where we are.
Kardashev 1 and 2.
Handsome gentlemen, explain to me how constitutionally a felon ever made it on the ballot for president?
I think it
How
has
is that
to do
missing
with,
from our Constitution?
I think it has
Can
to
you
do with
explain?
that is it Article 1? I forget in the
No, I
Constitution.
really want you to school me on how that happened. School me.
Oh my God! Well, because I think the founding fathers, the thought was, was there thought of there was
to protect us from a felon being our president?
There has. I think that Madison and Jefferson and Adams they tried,
like a serial killer perhaps can do it too.
Well, honey,
now
Andrew Jackson was a serial killer. The guy's a genocidal maniac.
Yeah, but I don't mean in war. But I mean I don't mean somebody who was in wartime. But
but the theory was, and maybe it's wrong, because Plato didn't believe in democracy. The theory was at least that you give the power to the people, or at least some element of power.
Except if they want to vote and they're out of prison, then no, you don't get to vote.
Yeah, right. Well, that was how the South did it. That wasn't always true in the North, but yeah, that's right. No, you're absolutely correct. We're in this.
He lives
bizarro...
in the South, though. Lives in the South.
Liesl, you're trying You're trying to use logic and reason
here. I need some assistance.
Half of the country right now is. Marcus Aurelius would put it this way.
Yeah, but these guys didn't write the Constitution.
Would you get angry at people who don't have any clothing, don't have any? When you see people who are blind and they're just wandering the streets, do you get angry at them if they're grabbing things to just try to survive? And they don't know. They cannot see through the veneer of funny business guy who has off-color jokes. They can't see through yet to this truly dark heart of fascistic need and want. They can't see it yet. They will, but they can't see it yet. And in their minds, they're fighting the woke war against,
and when
liberalism.
You talk about Andrew Jackson or whatever, I mean, he wasn't convicted and, found guilty in a court of law.
The guy's a genocidal maniac who exterminated Native peoples.
He didn't have those convictions on record. I just wonder.
He got away with it.
He got away with it. But, having it on record is so official.
Yeah, and so maybe we're actually not 2 steps back. Maybe we're only 1 step back, as to where in the past, a guy like Andrew Jackson got to get away with it and be a slave-owning
But for
son
what
of a bitch.
good it did, having it on record didn't...
And that son of a bitch is still on our $20 bill. This country, it's astounding to me.
You know what? Trump's on crypto.
Yeah. Oh, the Trump coins. Hey, I put all of our money in retirement in Trump coins,
I'm
honey.
gonna have to edit a ton of this. We're just in the muck.
At this particular point, I think that we should just continue to air our grievances and just click delete.
As we close the chapter, lend us your ear. The Prime Directive's calling, so let's pass a beer. The Prime Directive, where the laughter's alive. Society's reflections, let's help each other thrive.